Hello and welcome to part 2 of Module 4's CPE training. My name is Shayna and you've likely watched a couple of videos that I have recorded by now. As usual, check the Meet the Professional staff page on Canvas if you'd like to learn more about advisors and staff involved in campus health and well-being. In today's video, we're going to be talking about confidentiality and campus resources. As a peer educator, you may not always be able to maintain confidentiality, but you can always respect a person's privacy. Assure someone that if you need to tell someone, it will be a campus professional who is specially trained to deal with the situation. We'd like to provide some guidelines for how to be a good educator in regards to privacy and respect. The first note is to be honest. Let students know the boundaries of what you can and cannot keep confidential. We will go over that later in the video. Recognize that if you need to tell someone, tell a campus professional. Importantly, too, stop other peer educators from sharing confidential information. We are a cohesive unit, and if information or word gets out that some of your peers are not holding true to the way that we at Pulse like to have conversations and like to be a support for campus, it can bring down our entire institution. So if you're unsure of whether something crosses a line in your mandated reporter agreement, ask for help. This is another thing you can do. Finally, know your school policies. Peer educators have limits to their confidentiality. Within Pulse, there is the role of a lead of being a peer supporter, not just a peer educator. This peer supporter holds a nearly confidential space where students can open up and have someone to talk to about their issues. As you are all peer educators and not peer supporters within this program, you likely will not be in that situation of one-on-one trained conversation. We'd like for you to understand that peer supporters too have limits to their confidentiality, and it is similar to your own. If someone is confiding at you, maybe at a booth or informational event we're putting on, about admissions of committing a felony, intent to harm someone else, or intent to harm themselves, you are a mandated reporter about these issues. You can take a step back from the conversation if you feel it heading to this point, and let the person know that you are a mandated reporter and that you may report what is about to be shared with you to an authority that can make sure all parties involved are safe and/or taken care of. Most likely, you will not encounter a situation which you need to report information of this sort, but please reach out to a supervisor if there is an instance of a credible threat to oneself or another being made that you are aware of. So, who are people that are fully confidential? We recognize 3 different sources as fully confidential: clergy, lawyers, and mental health or medical professionals. Here's a little bit more information about your own role. You can give referrals to the individual asking for aid. It's why we care so much about knowing what campus resources we have. When you have to break confidentiality, you can directly refer someone to an appointed group on campus that delivers aid. Please know that not every conversation with a peer is going to require you to break confidentiality, and it is possible to give too many referrals. This can overwhelm the peer sharing with you and give the impression of not really hearing what they're meaning. On top of this, please remember if you refer someone to a health professional, they don't have to take your referral. We believe everyone has autonomy in their decision-making and will not force someone to get help even if they've been referred. For your own notes, you can gauge how likely it feels this person will follow through on your referral. This is also why you make sure all the information you share with them is correct. So how can we respond on a community level to crisis and needs? We can anticipate the issue on its way. We also want to make sure the response doesn't end when the crisis is over. As a health resource, we want to make sure residual feelings, questions, concerns All of the above are able to be handled, and we can show we are still aware of and processing the crisis that's occurred. Also, while in crisis, peer educators, you guys, may be asked to respond or join management teams and committees to understand the needs of campus and help serve those roles. Over COVID, Pulse educators were able to be part of committees in understanding how the campus community is responding to and likely wanted to respond to the pandemic. So I'd like to switch conversations to talk about crisis prevention, which is an essential component of Pulse's role on campus. We implement the crisis management cycle to understand how best to serve our campus. There are 5 stages that repeat in cycles. Starting with the top, we have prevention and mitigation, planning, response, recovery, and learning. Prevention and mitigation is the stage where we try our best to make sure to avoid crises. If we can't avoid a crisis, we can work to have systems in place to at least mitigate the harm. The planning stage focuses on the ability of the campuses and teams to develop procedures to deal with a crisis when it occurs. This is the stage that focuses on what to do when crisis does inevitably happen. The response stage is the third portion of a response. It puts into action the plans that have been created in previous stages. It's trying to utilize resources to support students. The recovery stage is when we practice a return to normal. It's a stage of processing what's occurred and finding a way to understand what's happened. It's a focus on understanding to try to return to a new normal that is similar to life before the crisis, but aware of the crisis. The learning stage is when we practice implementing what we've learned from the crisis and try to mitigate the harm it's created in another situation. We try to look forward to protect peers in the future. So what does our campus community response look like? We have Title IX, campus safety, campus police, counseling services, case management or concern offices, and we have behavior intervention teams. So we have Title IX rules that protect people from gender-based discrimination and is an office where students can report incidences. This is a physical space on campus. Aside from Title IX, we also have campus safety measures such as blue lights across campus, lighting even at night as protection, and we have campus police that responds to calls and teaches self-defense classes. We have counseling services, which includes a whole host of amazing programs and services, as well as immediate intervention when necessary. Finally, we have case management, service offices, and behavior intervention teams. They focus on food insecurity and other needs that students face aside from mental health. BITs, behavioral intervention teams, help facilitate care and focus on students and staff who may be exhibiting signs that will lead them to destructive or violent paths. This was a lot of information in this video, and we encourage you to please bring your questions to the in-person trainings if you have any. Thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you in the next module.